Hi everyone, welcome to the video. In this video we are going to see how does modules work in Rust. But before starting the tutorial, I have a small piece of advice for the folks who are coming from a different programming language background. And that is, when you try to understand the modules in Rust, try to think from a fresh perspective instead of relating it with the language you are coming from. Although the core concept behind the modules is same, but the way we define, declare or use modules is little bit different. So I think it would definitely help you if you try to think about it from a new perspective. Alright, let me jump to the tutorial. Okay, here I am in my terminal. Let's create a project. Cargo modules tutorial. Oops, I missed that new keyword. Okay, now we can see our Rust project has been initialized for us. So let me just go there and open it. Okay, so here we are in our VS Code, and these are the files which have been created by Cargo, and we have this function inside main printing hello world. So let's see if this is working fine. Okay, you can see hello world is printed, so this is working fine. Now, before learning how we can define modules, first we should know what modules are. So you can think of module as something which allows us to group together similar kind of items such as traits, function, enums, structures in a logical way, which in turn makes our project much more easy to manage and much more organized. So basically there are two ways to define modules in Rust. First one is using inline definition, and second one is using file-based definition. We will go through each of them one by one, starting with the inline definition. So suppose I have to create a module inside this file only, right? So how would you do that? So basically what we need is mod keyword. So when you want to define a new module, what you have to do is you have to write the keyword mod followed by the name of the module. For example, my module, and inside this my module you can write whatever you want. It could be a function, it could be a structure, it could be constants, it could be enums. So let's create one function here. Say hello. Now this is a simple function which prints the function name, right? Now if we want to invoke this function, say hello, from the main function, how can we do that? So basically what we have to do is we have to write the module name followed by the function name which we want to invoke. In this case it will be say hello. But if we try to run this function right now, it would fail. Why? Let's see. As you can see, this is the error which is being thrown. Hello function is a private function. So in Rust, by default, everything is private. To export it outside that module, we have to make it public. For example, let's say if I add pub keyword before this function definition, this function would be accessible outside this module, my module. So let's try to run it again. Yes, we can see hello world is printed, and after that we can see say hello executed. So basically this function say hello is now accessible outside the my module. But what if there is a function which we don't want to expose outside of this my module? What should we do? Let's say I have a function called say hello privately, and this will again have this print statement. Now this say hello privately function cannot be accessed outside the my module. let's check it once. If, yeah, you can see only say hello is coming for the suggestion. If we want to access the say hello privately function outside the my module, we have to make it public as we have discussed earlier. But this function can be accessed easily within the same module. Let's see if it works or not. You can see it is working fine. So why is it happening? So by default, since everything is private within a module, it cannot be accessed outside that module. But at the same scope level, it is available to everything. So suppose there is any other function here within this scope, it can directly access the say hello privately function. Now this concept does not apply only to the function, it applies to everything within the module. Let's say we have a nested module inside our my module. For example, let's create a module internal module, and inside that internal module let's have a new function say hello internally. Right now, since this module is at the same scope level as these two functions, they can directly access this module. For example, let's say I want to access this say hello function, so I will write something like internal module say hello internally semicolon, but it would not work, right? Because we have not made this function public. So since this function is not made public, it cannot be accessed outside the parent module. So this function is defined inside internal module, right? And its parent module is my module, so it cannot access this function directly. So we have to write pub keyword here to make this function public. Now my module can access internal module directly because it is in the same scope, and since say hello internally function is public, now this function is accessible. Let me try to run it. As you can see, it is printing say hello executed privately, and say hello internally executed. So basically everything which is in the same scope, they are accessible in that scope, and if we want to expose or export anything outside of that module, we have to make it public. Now one more thing, this mod internal module is directly accessible here, right? We haven't had public keyword here, but if you want to use that module function outside the parent module, let's say here my module internal, you can see I don't have internal module as suggestion. Let me type it out. It won't work because this internal module is not private. So it is private, so let me just add the public keyword here. Now I can access the module and I can access the say hello internally function also. Let me try to run it. You can see say hello internally is executed twice, once from say hello privately and another time from this definition here. So this is how inline modules work. Now suppose you want to make some function public but only to its parent module, not to any other module. For example, let's say this is the function, right? Say hello internally. Now since this is public and this module is public, I can access it here and I can also exit it here. Suppose I want to restrict it access only till its parent module. So what I can do is I can write something called pub and super. What this will do is it will only make this function public to its parent module, since this is the internal module and its parent is my module. So this function say hello internally could only be accessed within the my module. Cannot It cannot be accessed outside it. For example, you can see we are getting this error, this is private, but here we are not getting that error because it is still accessible because of the super keyword. Let me just try to run this to see if that works or not. You can see say hello internally is executed fine. That means this is how we can make something public, but only to its parent module and not totally public. Okay, so this is all about the inline modules. Now, generally you won't have everything defined inside a single file, right? You would organize your code in a much better way, and your modules will be written in separate directories or separate files, right? So let's try to do that now. Now, how does file based definition of modules work? So for example, we have this my module, right? Let me just copy out this content from here, let me delete it from here, and let me create a new file, my module.rs, and inside that I will paste the content of that file. Now I have defined the content in the my module.rs file, but if you hover over there, you can see there is an error, file not included in the module tree. So what does it mean? It means that we have written the content of the module, but we have nowhere defined that there is a module called my module. So what we have to do is we have to use the same mod keyword followed by the name of the module, my module. So when you does this, what happens is Rust internally searches for a file named mymodule.rs in the same directory in which you are writing this module definition. So since the main.rs file is inside the src directory, it will search for mymodule.rs there and there only. So since there is mymodule.rs file present, all the content of that file is exported to this module, my module. Now I can access everything that is inside that module, which is public, in my main function. For example, our say hello function is public, so I can access it. Say hello privately is private, so we cannot access it. And this internal module is public, so I can access it. Let me try to do this, and let me try to run it. As you can see, it's working fine. But if I try to do this, it won't work. Why? Because we still have this super keyword here. In case I remove this super keyword and make it public simple, then I again try to run the function. You can see say hello internally is executed twice. That means it is accessible. Now suppose you don't have anything inside this my module file. How? What other way you can define your module? So basically there are two ways which Rust follows to find the module definition when you write something like this. First is it will see for the file name mymodule.rs, and the second thing is it will look for a directory called mymodule, and then it will look for a file name mod.rs. If I go here and paste it there and delete this, and if I go back to my main.rs and try to execute the run function, you can see everything is still working fine. Why? Because this is something which is called as module resolution rules, which is followed by the Rust. So basically, as I said earlier, it will check for the file with the same name, and if it does not find any file in the same directory, it will look for a folder with the same name with a file name mod.rs. So it is compulsory that you have a file name mod.rs. Only then it will export the content inside the mod.rs to this my module. Now suppose this mod.rs module have this internal module also, right? Suppose you want to write it also in some other file. So what you can do is create a new file, let's say nested module, but it won't work. Let's say internal module.rs, and inside this internal module.rs I have to copy my content. Okay, so my content is copied. Now I can get rid of this, but now you will see a new error. Internal module cannot be reached. Why? Because we have written the content but we have not defined the module. If you hover over there, you can see the same error, file not included in the module t. So what you have to do is you have to write the same module definition which we have written in the main file. If you remember, we have to write mod internal module colon. Now what will happen is Rust will look for a file name internal module which it will find, so it will expose everything which is written here to this module, internal module, which can be accessed now in this my module mod.rs file. But we are still getting one error, right? Let me just comment this out and show you if it's working fine or not. You can see everything is working fine. Now why we are getting this error? If we hover over there, you can see that there is an error called this module is private. Now why it is this? If you hover over there, you can see that I have declared this module, but this module, since declared inside this mod.rs file, is only accessible to my module or this file. Now if I want to export this module to other modules, I have to add the pub keyword to make it public. If I now go here and type run, you can see everything is working fine. So this is how you can define the modules in a file-based definition. Let's see if there is anything else we can do. Yes, there is one more thing, which is structures. Let me show you something.